Nyla, you know what today is?
What's today? That's a special day?
Yep, it's the first day we start working in the van. You ready? So, before we get started on this project of building the van, I just want to take a moment and look at the camera and kind of humble myself. Last year, I was sleeping in our van with just a futon in it and a couple shelves in 20-degree weather because I didn't really have anywhere to sleep that was comfortable enough for me. And before that, me and Maci traveled and tried out van life in a minivan and lived in it for 3 months in a 2003 Dodge Grand Caravan because there's no way we could have afforded a Sprinter van. And before that, we were in LA paying $2,000 a month for rent and being house poor, and we were just working just to live. This kind of led us to this lifestyle. And before that, my mother's a single mother. She was on welfare for some point, and she tried. She did a great job to provide as much as she could. But it's kind of like a full circle moment for me. And this house that we're building the van out was a gift, a blessing to us from a gentleman I used to work for, and he's letting us stay here for free just to take care of the property while he's out of the country. And I mean, just to think, last year I was, like I said, I was sleeping in 20-degree weather, and now I have one van built out for our family, and the other van we're about to build out. I just signed a contract to build out this van that I'm sitting in, and it's a one-of-a-kind thing. It doesn't really happen for people that come from where we come from, and I appreciate it, and I don't overlook it. So before I build this out and before I make this happen, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. Life's beautiful. Sometimes you just gotta reflect and appreciate what brought you to the moment you so deeply cherish right now. But all love, let's get to work. Day one of working on this van, working on ice white. Got some materials in there from yesterday. Some 1x3s, some 2x2s for the ceiling, 1x3s for the wall slats. All Home Depot, Pacific planking, 1/4 inch. We're gonna get started making this van into a home. Let's get it. So, we need some cobalt bits to drill into the metal. 1/8 of an inch and 7/64 of an inch are going to be your go-tos. So I picked up some extras. They tend to break. Next up, for the walls, 1 5/8 drywall screws. I don't like to use the self-tapping screws. I like to drill the hole prior and then drill a screw in. It's easier that way for me, and it has a tighter fit. For our ceiling studs, which is our 2x2s, using 2.5 inch screws. That way we have 1 inch going into our ceiling. So those are the materials. A drill and Phillips bit. Last tool you're gonna need, miter saw. Mine's not in great shape. Yours doesn't have to be either. Don't forget the safety glasses. Step one, take your measuring tape and measure from floor to about ceiling. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect because this step will be covered up by your walls. We want to measure our ceiling studs out. In our particular case, less is more. So it looks like we're going at about 54 inches. Step two, count how many studs you want to have. So based on your design, you want to figure out where you want to have walls and where you want to have windows. In our case, we want windows on both sides in the rear. So we want to frame it around the windows. So it's going to be, for each window, you're going to have 2 studs. So in our case, we have 1 here, 2 here, 3 here in the middle, 4 here. We're going to have a window here, so we're going to have 5 right along this wall, and then a 6 along this window, a 7 along the other side of the window, an 8, a 9, a 10, and an 11. So we need 11 beams in our case. Your case may be different, but that's us. So we're going to cut 11 beams to 6 feet long. Now we're just going to measure these studs out and make sure all of them are exactly the same length. And we're just going to cut them with a miter saw. My blade definitely needs to be replaced. You see all that smoke? Terrible. So we're just going to repeat that process for however many wall studs you have and ceiling studs you have. When it's all done, get them back at the van. Hopefully your work area is a bit closer to your van than mine is. That walk has been treacherous. So I'm actually going to do the ceiling first and then the wall stud second. I'm finding it's easier to pre-drill the holes in the stud as opposed to just drilling straight through the wood and then through the metal. Alright, so van ceilings, at least this one, curve a little bit. So, got my piece here, I got it cut. So when I hold it up, as you can see, it doesn't quite line up here, there's a little gap. So what we're going to need to do is push it up and then hold it up and screw it in so the screw holds it in place. That way we can get the board pretty close to flush with the ceiling to save us on ceiling space. Because some of us are right at the capacity. So here I'm pre-drilling all the ceiling studs one by one, so that way it's an easier passage through the wood, so the screw kind of uses the head of the screw to adhere the wood directly to the metal studs that are already in place. And we're using wood here because it's a lot easier to nail your ceiling planks into wood as opposed to drilling them into each and every one of these beams. We know that from experience from our last van, the red one you see in that picture. And it's quite a pleasure when the family comes to see me while I'm out here working. She helps me a lot, even though she's got the little one in her arms. Me and my girl here want to show you how far we got yesterday. Worked till it got dark, so I couldn't really show you. But after that little time lapse, this is where we are today. So as you can see, we have all the studs in. Except for this beam right here. This beam's kind of unique. There's not much to drill into, as opposed to this beam we could just drill into here. So this one I'm gonna opt out of for now. We're gonna put a fan here, so it's gonna have some support. So our ceiling is gonna nail into these beams here. What do you think? What you got to say? Yeah, we're back at it today. Maybe a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. Sometimes it's a little more challenging with a squinch like this, but I just love it so much that, yeah, you just do whatever for her. Today I'm working on framing, but framing's, in my opinion, like one of the least exciting parts, because there's no real results. But I spent a lot of time looking around and trying to imagine how this is gonna look and how I'm gonna do it. Spent hours. On our first build in the red van, I spent maybe 20 hours literally just like sitting in the van, imagining, thinking, how am I gonna pull this off? Okay, this is what I want, how am I gonna pull this off? This is what I want, how am I gonna pull this off? So when I'm not filming, that's kind of what I'm doing. It's just literally sitting here and thinking like, okay, how am I gonna do this? Does this make sense? So I've kind of reached that point, so that's why I decided to pick the camera up. So if you take a look around, I've got a couple boards here, a couple boards that have fell down, a big mess, and a couple more boards standing up on this other side. The walls needed a little bit more focus because we're gonna get a couple windows. It's gonna be a window right here, and then a window in the back right, and then window in the back left. Driver side, passenger side. So I have these cut out specifically so that I can put them here, and then I can push them in, and then I can drill them into the metal. This is the area where you drill, and here. Because if you drill here or here, you're gonna go out, you're gonna put a hole in your van. That ain't what you want. So like I said, window here, stud to the right, stud to the left. No window here, so we got a stud going right in the middle. Same thing, window in the back, stud to the right, stud to the left. Another window in the back, stud to the right. There's gonna be another stud right here to the left. And then no window right here, so there's gonna be a stud in the middle, stud to the left. And then we're gonna have to do a little bit of extra things at the top. This is one of the hardest parts of a van to deal with right here. This part that comes out. So we're gonna have to do a little extra in this van to kind of like make that look good and clean that up real nice. All right, let's go. So you'll notice here as the scene changes that there's a couple ceiling fans in the roof, and that's because we took a break from the studs and went ahead and installed the ceiling fans, actually, as well as paint the van. That's going to be attached in a different video, but I figured I wanted to go through all the stud installation in this video and then save the painting and the fan installation for a follow-up video. So right here, I'm just drilling through the stud into the metal beams, and I'm bending the wood to get it to fit the curvature of the van. That way you have the maximum amount of space, because if you have a flat wall in this van, you're going to take up a lot of precious and valuable living space. All right, so what we're doing right now is I'm using a small cobalt bit. In this case, I think its size is 7/64. And I'm drilling a hole using the slow setting on the drill. And I'm drilling a hole into the metal, just small enough for me to put a screw in for it to catch. So I'll show you how that goes, and then I'm gonna time lapse the rest of them. So basically, I'm gonna screw a hole through here. And then I just hit the metal, so I'm gonna push hard and go at a slow speed into the metal. Boom. So I just went through into the metal. Then I'm gonna grab my other Phillips head bit. Then I'm gonna grab my screw. And then we're gonna go right in. And that's gonna give these beams a nice secure fit. And we're gonna nail our shiplap wall into these beams. Let's do the rest of them. If you look here, you see my wife multitasking, holding the baby and recording some high quality footage for you. So hope you appreciate her hard work and effort as much as you might appreciate mine. So one by one, I'm taking that 7/64 cobalt bit, and I am drilling through the wood into the metal, and putting about 4 or 5 different screws in each stud that are going directly into those metal beams. And I'm using the 1 5/8 screws that I showed you earlier in the video to go through the stud and attach it to the metal beam there. So I used the 7/64 drill bit for the 1 5/8 screws, and I used the 1/8 drill bit for the 2.5-inch screws, because the 2.5-inch screws are a little bit wider, so they require a little bit bigger of a drill bit. So yeah, I'm just gonna run through all 11 of them here, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And I give each and every one of you permission to roast me in the comments for wearing these very comfortable yet hideous Croc slides. You'll see me wearing them in this video as well as several videos to come. I felt like my feet could use some oxygen and a little bit of comfortability at the expense of fashion. So have at it in the comments. I totally get why you would roast these, especially when I'm working. But they're comfortable and I was rocking them. Boom! That's the last one. The whole thing is framed out.